Hi YouTube, after a considerable absence, I've decided to put out a video about a recent purchase. This fella here, it's an M1, it's a Vapalux lamp made by Willis and Bates, based in Halifax, and I managed to get hold of a mint one, an unused one, and I've had a few people requesting to see it lit for the first time. So I thought I would obviously I'm going to do that, but I thought I would also do a little bit of the sort of background and history of these lamps, just for anyone who's interested. Obviously, if you just want to see the lighting of it, you might want to skip forward to that part. Okay, so I'll get rid of my ugly face off here and explain a little bit about the lamps. Okay, there's going to be additional noise on this, I'm afraid, because I'm on the flight path to Manchester Airport, and you know, neighbours have got kids and things out. So anyway, Willis and Bates, an old company based, started in the 1800s, and towards the end of World War I, they were approached by a German company, Petromax, to start manufacturing parts for this style of lamp. This is a Petromax style of lamp. This is an Optimus version, and this is Hipólito, a model made in Portugal, licensed by Petromax. So Willis and Bates started manufacturing parts for them, and then in 1925 they were approached by a well-known British company, lamp company, Tilly, and again started manufacturing parts for the Tilly lamp company. In 1938 they basically sort of parted company with Petromax and Tilly, and started to produce their own lamp, which is called the E41. And the E41 very much was a hybrid of a Tilly and a Petromax. It had the sort of a similar gallery, heating gallery to a Tilly, but similar sort of style top to the Petromax, with the vents and things here as opposed to the air buttons. And you know, if you were to Google an E41, you'd see exactly what I was talking about. Now, Vapalux became the sort of standard army issue lamp in World War II, and at one point they were producing, I think it was around about 2,000 lamps a week. And after World War II, Willis and Bates started working with this company over here. Well, the company is called Aladdin. Yeah, Aladdin Industries, based in Greenford. Aladdin themselves were quite a well-known make. They were making fabulous products like this Fireball. And actually, the name Vapalux, Willis and Bates, sort of faded away because they went under the name of the aeroplane going over. They started going under the name of Aladdin, and this model here, albeit with a probably slightly older sort of hood, more like this, under the Aladdin name, is known as the 305. It was still sort of issued to the army though under the Vapalux, if we can see that, under the Vapalux name. So this would be sort of army issue. I'll just turn that around. You can see the model there, Vapalux model M1. But if this was one that was being bought other than for army issue, it would have been the Aladdin 305. Okay. What else have we got? Right. Well, in 1968, I think the association between Willis and Bates and Aladdin Industries broke down, or they went their separate ways, and the name Vapalux came back with this model. Okay, so this is the M320, and this thing has been made from sort of the 1968 late 60s, pretty much up until about 2010, I believe. So you've got sort of models of various different ages. Now what happened was that in 1997 the original company, Willis and Bates, ceased trading, but another Halifax company called the Bairstow Brothers took over, and they continued manufacture right up until 2010, when unfortunately the Army finished its contract for these style of lamps and went over to batteries. And then all the sort of tooling, the name Vapalux, Willis and Bates, etc., was sold to a Korean company who are now manufacturing these lamps. Actually, they look amazing. I must admit, I've looked online at their website and they do look pretty amazing. So you can still buy these lamps just made in Korea. They have a gorgeous looking stainless steel version, which I wouldn't mind buying at some future date. Okay, so there's the history of these lamps, and this model I would guess is one of the later M1s, because you can see it sort of shares pretty much exactly the same cap as the M320. I think the early ones, as I said, had a cap much more similar to this, or a hood. This one, as you can see, absolutely beautiful. The only thing I've done to this, I have unwrapped it, I have had a look at it, and oops, sorry, just kicked you. Better just check that you're still lined up. Yeah, it's okay. One thing I did do was replace the wick, the sort of preheating wick, because I wasn't sure of the date, and I know that at some point the preheating wicks were asbestos based. There's the gallery, heating gallery, very similar to a Tilly. And just pop that there, take out the glass. This is what I'm talking about here. I've got the original in the box, and they were asbestos based, so that's been replaced by a Kevlar one. So yeah, here it is, all pristine and beautiful. I bought it from a guy who had bought it direct from Halifax, from the factory himself, and just never ever used it. So I was very lucky to get my hands on it, and I think he was quite pleased it had gone to somebody who's an enthusiast. And it even came with a reflector, which, yeah, the original reflector, Willis and Bates one, which I'll use tonight when I light it. Okay, so I'll switch you off for now and bring you back when when the lights are a little bit lower, and do a lighting. I thought before lighting it I might sort of show you the lamp a little bit closer and talk you through the lighting procedure. Because this lamp's unused, it actually comes with the original swing tag, which has got all these sort of lighting instructions. So I've loosened the nuts here that hold the hood on, or the sort of lid here, to show you what we've got. So if we look inside, so we've got you can see the mantle there has been tied on. It's absolutely unused, brand new mantle. And inside, so it's quite dark here, isn't it? There, that's better. We can see the sort of the burner assembly, which is very similar to a Tilly. It's got the sort of chamber at the top there, and three arms that bring in the air to these little exterior buttons, these air buttons here, that just screw on, so that you can get a sort of mix of paraffin vapor and air, correct. And that just sort of slots on top of the vaporizing tube here. This is it's got to be hot enough to vaporize the paraffin. Sorry, another aeroplane. Just give that a second. If you look closely, I don't know if it'll focus, possibly not. tiny little nozzle at the tip here has actually got an inbuilt pricker, which is adjusted by this. Now at the moment that's in the up position, so I can actually feel the prickers there. When we light it, we'll turn the V to the down position, so that V that you can sorry, the light's harsh. I'll turn it downwards like that, so that that's open. That is now gone. So that would allow vapour out. But this air release here, this air release screw, will be kept open until we're ready to light it. So during the preheat, when the meth is burning in there, this will be open. And at the last moment, once it's had the preheat, for about 3 minutes I think of preheat, we'll close that, tighten that up, and then start pumping. And by then the vaporizing tube should be nice and hot, and as the liquid paraffin rises, it will vaporize, rise up into the burner head up here, and then get mixed with the air, and hopefully get a nice clean burn without flares. We will see. Okay, so we'll just pop that back on. Just got to seat that in properly, and that's up. Put those back on. Okay. Now to preheat, what you do is they're supplied with the meth can, which I won't be using because I use a syringe that I've had for a while that I've been using with all my other lamps, so I'll just leave that. And all you do is you raise the glass up enough to get the meths fed into that little dish area. Now it's got to preheat, as I said earlier, for about 3 minutes, so I'm going to have to put plenty of meth in there, and I like to soak into that wick so that we're going to have sufficient to preheat that vaporizing tube. Okay, so should be ready to go. All I'm doing now is waiting for the sun to go down, so that you'll be able to see the burn better. Okay, we'll be bringing you back in a bit. Alright, okay, so not exactly dark, but then you do want to be able to see what I'm doing. The sun's just gone down. Unfortunately the airplanes don't stop, so let's get the meths in. The well for this M1 isn't as deep as on the other model I've got. I'm going to let that soak into the wick, and then I'll put some more in, because we've got to get that 3-minute heating time. The V is in the down position, so that's correct. I've opened the air screw. Okay, so that's soaked up, or the first lot has. So put that in. Typically, we're getting a bit of wind building up, but never mind. Okay, now this is probably going to go on for quite a while in terms of the preheat, so I will pause the video once I've lit this. Alright, I don't think it looks like there's any more going to soak up. It's not going down anymore. I'll just put that to one side. Yeah. I tend to use these little bits off one of my bamboos. So, like a little wick for lighting. The mantle's new, so the mantle will have to burn off as well, which it's currently doing. This is an original mantle, so not quite sure what it's made of. The guy I got it from said he thought it might be silk. I have no idea. Right, so we've got 3 minutes of this burn time. I might even add a little bit more of the meths to keep it going. So I'll just pause the video whilst that preheat carries on. Okay, so we've been burning maybe for a couple of minutes now. I did add a little bit extra meths. I just sort of raised the glass and squirted a bit extra in. It's gone from the pool, so all the mess now is in the wick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the air screw. Okay, make sure everything's tight there. And in a second I'll start to pump the paraffin through, and hopefully we will get a light. And there we go, guys. Oh, a thing of beauty. I'll take some stills a little later on when it's really dark. This should be able to run out. I did a half fill on the tank, but I'm sure we'll get a couple of hours burn out of that at least. First lighting of a vintage Willis & Bates Vapalux model M1. The very latest it can be, I think, if my facts are right, is 1968. Right, well, I hope you enjoyed that. Hope maybe you learnt something about these amazing lamps. And who knows, maybe you'll go and get yourself one.